its way.
Welcome everyone to Wednesday Night Football. This is our third episode. Once again, right over there is the man, Gabe. How are you doing today, Gabe?
What's going on? We're doing great, guys. Happy to be back again for week number 3. Jesse, this is going to be a great week, isn't it?
It's a week. It's a week. You all know what's coming. This over here, that over there. You know what we're going to talk about today. But let's go ahead and pump the brakes. This is the show time. Let's talk about Monday Night Football. So you had a game on Monday night, right, that I don't think anyone would have projected to be as interesting as it ended up being. You have the Colts, who were at 1-3 at the time, facing off against the 3-1 Ravens. And let's just say that the game started off on the wrong foot for the Ravens. I think by the fourth quarter, it was a completely out of the hand game. Everyone's like, what's going on here? Score 25-9 at the beginning of the fourth quarter with the Colts over the Ravens. Yeah. Now, I picked the Ravens to win this game. Okay. I was like, Ravens, no doubt in my mind, they're going to walk into this game and win. But here we are, and the Colts are up 25-9, and then tragedy strikes, and the game just goes back to the way we thought it would. The Colts don't gain any new ground. Ravens tie it up, and then overtime, march it down the field, winning the game with a touchdown, 31-25. Colts don't even get to touch the ball. Just what a game! What a roller coaster! How did it make you feel, man?
That was just a game. There's very few games like it. I was just kind of, doing some work while the game was in the background, and then I look over and I'm just like, wow, the Colts are really pummeling the Ravens at the moment. Like, is the score right? Like, that's not what it's supposed to be, right? The Ravens aren't that bad. So I was blown away. And then the fourth quarter started happening, and I was like, okay, the Ravens are starting to gain some ground. And then the Ravens go and make it 17-25. And, they get that first touchdown 2-point conversion. I'm like, okay, the Ravens brought it to one score. I was still like, I did pick the Ravens, but I kind of felt bad for the Colts. I wanted them to just, have another game won and something like that. But the Ravens ended up coming back. They scored again, got another 2-point conversion as like time pretty much expired. The Colts didn't have a chance to get anything. And that was the thing. They marched down the field, and then their kicker missed a field goal at the end of regulation. And then we were just
of the whole week.
That was it. Yeah. No, the kickers were awful this week. So it was an interesting game. The Colts definitely should have won. That they had plenty of chances. And yeah, that just goes to show the Ravens are built. Lamar Jackson and his crew of people, they know what it takes to win. They have all the weapons. In the Colts, if you lose a game like that, then you gotta figure something out from the inside out, man. Like, I don't even know.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, all right? So before we move forward, I just want to let everyone know we are implementing a timer on these quarters, okay? So this is the first quarter topic, 7 minutes a topic. I started a little late, so this one might go a little long, so we're going to try and move this along here. But first quarter, the Colts had momentum, right? Jonathan Taylor breaks away for a 76-yard TD, right? Then the Ravens do nothing with the ball again, right? And then they start marching again, and then Brandon Williams goes ahead and recovers the football after a sack on Carson Wentz, leading to a fumble. And I think that was a momentum shift. If the Colts, because they were in the red zone, if the Colts scored again there, it would have been 14-0. And I think the Ravens never would have come back from that. But I think while the score was very lopsided at the end of that game, I think if they continued to score like that and have that presence, Ravens never would have shown up. But we can't talk about this game without talking about Lamar Jackson and his historic game. So, 442 yards in the air, another 62 yards on the ground, over 500 yards, no interceptions, 4 TDs, a great over 85% completion rate. I mean, what else can you say about him, man? You think he's MVP material?
The dude's an animal. Yeah, he's looking really, really good this season. I think he'll get, quite a few votes. If he takes the Ravens places, like, deep in the AFC playoffs, then yeah, I think he has a very strong case for being the MVP. He's brought the Ravens from seemingly impossible situations, near, very tough to come back from, and he's led them to these comeback victories. That's why they have as good a record as they are. They would be a terrible football team if Lamar Jackson was not with them. So his numbers are staggering. I saw a stat where Lamar Jackson has, one of the highest passing yards in the league and one of the highest rushing yards, even over some of the top running backs. So the fact that this guy is doing numbers all over the ball, whether he's holding it and running it with his legs or throwing it like standard quarterbacks, he's just insane, man. So if the Ravens get into the conversation, which they weren't, a few months ago,
sure,
then yeah, Lamar Jackson might be up there in the voting category.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have said that, people are starting to sleep on him, that he was overhyped, that he wasn't a good pocket passer, and then he just comes out swinging this week and he just puts everyone to bed on that, right? He's like, all right, I'm a professional quarterback. I'm good at what I do. Get off my back. Mm-hmm. But on the other side, Carson Wentz, okay, also throws for over 400 yards, 0 interceptions, 2 TDs, 25 for 30 out of 35 for completions, not bad at all. Has 2 stellar runs, 2 runs for 5 yards, 2.5 yards per carry average. I think that's truly
it's not quite Lamar Jackson.
Not quite Lamar, but I think you do see there that both quarterbacks had a really good game. You can't look at a 400-yard game from a quarterback with no interceptions and say, that wasn't good.
No, Lamar, that's a great game, yeah.
It's amazing, but you had both QBs doing it out really well. Do you think that it's the defense on the Ravens for once that we need to put a question mark on and not their quarterback?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I feel like their defense has been, I guess, on and off throughout the season. This was definitely more of an off game for the Ravens defense. Like, they didn't really pick it up until, like you said, later in the game, and especially that crucial red zone turnover. But the fact that they did allow so many points and so many yards from the Colts, and they allowed themselves to get, buried deep into that hole as far as they were, where they almost made it impossible to come back from. I do think the Ravens have something to fix when it comes to defense, because Lamar Jackson or Justin Tucker or any of the receivers have been kind of saving the day for them so far. I don't know what to pinpoint though for the Ravens defense. I feel like it's just an overall just kind of low point for the team. Their identity is definitely Lamar Jackson and its dynamic offense, which we've never seen before. But if the defense can get going and can keep the game close into halftime, they don't always have to be on top or tied, but if they just keep it close into halftime, then yeah, the Ravens will be a very tough team to beat.
All right. So I got one question for you. We got 30 seconds on the clock here. One question. Ready for this?
All right.
Overtime loss for the Colts. Are the overtime rules for the NFL fair? Would you change them?
I would. Yeah. I mean, I know it's been a tradition for a very long time now, but I do think it's only fair that both teams get a chance with the ball. So that's what I would do. That would change the result of a ton of games, but I would definitely say give each team a chance to see what happens.
All right, that's time right there. That's time. But I would just to add real quick before we move on to the next quarter, I would say keep it the same, because if both teams keep scoring, if defenses stop existing, then the games will go on forever. So I think it does add some finality to the game. But maybe that's just me. All right, so second quarter here, we're going to go ahead. We're going to move over to Thursday night football. This is actually rather fast, huh? It's hard to fit everything in you want to say. But yeah, Thursday night football preview. Time's on the clock now. So just to give a quick rundown, you got your Buccaneers that are coming into this game 4-1, Super Bowl champions, right? Tom Brady led, going against the very despised 2-3 Eagles, who I think are one of the worst teams ever to walk the face of the earth, next to the Jets.
Yep.
Can the Eagles win this game? Just to preface here, the Bucs are banged up. Let me just run down a list here of injuries. Tom Brady, he's got some type of issue going on with his right thumb. Antonio Brown has an issue with his knee. Chris Godwin, another issue with the knee. Gronk out with his rib injury. Ryan Jensen, a center, is injured. JPP has a shoulder injury. He's a linebacker of theirs. And the names just keep going. They're pretty battered. And sure, the Eagles have a couple players out, 2 tight ends out, or 2 tackles out, 1 center out, a defensive end, a guard, and a tight end. But they're not the impactful players that the names I just read to you are. Can the Eagles overcome these banged up Bucks.
I'm gonna try my best to put biases aside, but
Okay.
I
Okay.
still think it will be a very, very tall order for the Eagles to get over the Bucks. I mean, we're just talking like two different leagues here. The Bucks are pretty much nearly unstoppable. Yes, you went through like an entire list of starters and just superstars that are hurt or out for the Buccaneers. But just think about this past week where they just laid down a 45-17 beatdown on the Dolphins, and they weren't even fully healthy. Then sure, the Dolphins aren't fully healthy, but neither are the Eagles, and I feel like they're closer together in skill level as the Eagles are to the Buccaneers. So maybe this will be a closer game than people think. Maybe Jalen Hurts will actually get a few connections to Devontae Smith. Maybe the defense will get a turnover on Tom Brady. Who knows? Maybe the Eagles will. Maybe they'll even have a lead at some point in the game. But I do think the Buccaneers, at the end of the day, are going to pull this one out. Their defense, all in all, is just way too strong. And Tom Brady, he just knows how to torch quarterbacks and defenses of pretty much anyone of any caliber. So I
Well,
still got
let's
the Bucks with this one.
well, let's talk about Tom Brady's weakness here. Okay, so Tom Brady buckles under pressure. It sounds weird to say, right? Because I mean, the man is the fourth quarter wizard. He's
Mm-hmm.
won so many Super Bowls. He's played in the league so long. But when you get a defender in his face over and over, the man just can't get out of it. Like it gets in his head and it bothers him. He's like, "Why is my offensive line failing me? Why? Why? Why?" And he starts
Mm-hmm.
playing really bad. This Eagles defense last game. Now they beat the Panthers. Now the Panthers were undefeated for a while, 3-0, and now they're 3-2 after facing some pretty good teams. Okay, but they beat them 21-18.
Mm-hmm.
In that game, they had 3 picks and 3 sacks. Do you think that defense is going to frustrate Tom Brady? Because when I look at those numbers, I mean, sure, they're not amazing. Like, oh my God, like 3 picks in one. Yeah, that's a lot, but not super impressive. But still, personally, I feel like they're going to frustrate Tom Brady to such an extent that they're not going to score 40 points. I think that the Buccaneers offense is going to be marginalized a little bit because I really do see Tom Brady getting hit in this game. There's not going to be enough time for his receivers, especially if they're having knee injuries, to get up. So when I look at it, I say, you know what? Tom Brady will win this game with difficulty. I'd say Buccaneers 30, Eagles 21. All right, I do think that, and I think another problem there is that when you're comparing these defenses, I think the Bucks defense is actually worse than the Eagles defense. Is that a
Mm-hmm.
hot take, or do you think I'm right?
You got a point. I don't know if I would call it a hot take, but here's the thing: the Bucks defense is one of, if not the worst, when it comes to passing. When it comes to their run defense, they're pretty good. So it really just depends on what the Eagles decide to do with the ball. If the Buccaneers can get their corners and maybe their linebackers on some of the Eagles' top receivers, then Jalen Hurts will have no reason, no other choice but to use his legs. And then therefore the front line of the Bucks, even though they're banged up, can to get to him and put Jalen Hurts down. So I do think the Buccaneers defense it's banged up, and Hurts might put some numbers on them. Like they may do what Carson Wentz did to the Ravens in some respect, but yeah, I still think, like you said, I have Tom Brady and the Buccaneers overall winning this game.
Okay, so let's throw our own personal biases aside. All right,
Yeah.
we're suddenly Eagles fans.
Oh
It
boy.
hurts, oof, right? Oof. All right,
Don't say that.
they suddenly now finally have 2 fans in the world. Okay, they're the first 2 Eagles fans out there. Okay, they beat the Bucks.
Mm.
They beat the Bucks. Now that puts them at 3-3. Can they catch the Cowboys? Remember, you're an Eagles fan now. You're not a Cowboys fan. If they beat the Bucks this week, are they contending for the NFC East?
Well, in that case, yeah, I think they are with the win over the Panthers. I think the Eagles are um probably the only other team in the NFC East that has a shot at this point. The football team, their defense is, I have no idea what's wrong with their defense. They got a lot of, and there's a lot of other controversy going on right now with the football team that we shouldn't talk about.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
it's distracting them.
the Giants are just hurt in pretty much every position in football right now. So I think the Eagles have, like, if they beat the Bucks, then then that would be a huge victory for the Eagles. They haven't beaten a team of that caliber. I don't think the Panthers are there, compared to the Bucs, just because McCaffrey's hurt and he has been proven these past 2 weeks, has been a big factor, a huge X factor for the Panthers offense. So if the Eagles beat the Bucs, they have a good shot, but I do think they need to face more teams and to beat more of those types of teams in order to catch, the Cowboys. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. And so, yeah, I kind of see that. I feel like the Eagles, if they can prove themselves offensively in this game, right? Defensively, I think they're going to prove themselves. But I think if they can just take that ball to the next level on the offense, then I think they're a more complete team than the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are a more shocking team. I think they're a better team. But when it comes to completeness, I feel like the Eagles, if they can get their offense moving, will become that team. And that right there is time. So look at that. Boom. Second quarter done. Let's go ahead and check out this week's halftime show. Welcome to this week's halftime show. I'm doing something a little differently this week. I don't have a guest with me, but I still want to talk about something that is very important. So, youth sports leagues. Everyone knows them, everyone likes them. That's where a lot of our professional sports players that we all talk about during this show get their starts, right? It's usually from involvement in these junior leagues, and particularly in these ages 6 to 12 leagues that we're starting to see a negative trend, though. That is, from 2008 to 2018, there was a study, okay? And in this study, participation in this age group, once again, ages 6 to 12, dropped pretty dramatically from 45% to 38%. Now, it might not seem like a lot, 7%, but that's now dropping to almost 1 in 3 children are participating in these sports leagues. And now with the COVID-19 pandemic hopefully coming to an end, these numbers are expected to decline even further, as 30% of the children of that 1/3 are now saying that they don't want to return to sports. Families are echoing the sentiment as well. And the reasons aren't really that far off from reality. You've got the cost of sports, which is continually increasing and augmenting, whether it be the equipment, the price to join the league, traveling costs, time off of work, which also leads into the time commitment. Parents just don't have the time to commit to these sports leagues when they're trying to work all these extra hours, especially in a post-pandemic world. And then the overly competitive nature, whether it be rival parents, parents of the same team, or even the coaches themselves, they're pushing this overly competitive league system that's really pushing a lot of people away from it. It's not friendly for either less talented children or just families that don't have the time to commit to being so competitive. And so we're starting to see a disparity among the wealthy and the not so wealthy, the poor, if you will, in their participation among these leagues. And it's really bad. So I really recommend to you, I'm going to put quite a few different programs down here of the New England region that are available to youth. I think it's good to get your children involved in these and to reestablish what youth sports is. And these programs down below, I think, do a great job at that, because when you get your children involved in sports, you, one, help them feel like a member of a team. You get them involved into a program that pushes them out of their comfort zone and allows them to become part of a community. Two, you build their personal achievements. People who go to these leagues and experience what it is to achieve victory, they come out with a little bit more self-confidence, some self-worth, and they have stories to tell. And then three, it teaches them loss. A lot of children don't know what it is to overcome defeats, to overcome loss, to have a humbled sense about themselves. And sports leagues do all of those things. So it drives participation, it drives their confidence, and it also teaches them to be humble in defeat. And lastly, physical fitness. Physical fitness is a large component of health, and setting that physical fitness tone early on in their lives is going to help them carry that on into their college days and their adulthood, when it becomes harder and harder and harder to prioritize those things. So look down below to the link in the description for a couple different local New England sports leagues that you could participate in, involve your children in, or at minimum, support. So I look forward to talking to you next week on next week's halftime show. All right, welcome back, everyone. This is the third quarter. Time starts now. And so let's go ahead and talk about positions. And once again, we're going to go back to this. Position spotlight is always one of my favorite topics in these videos because it's really cool to look at individual players across the league and maybe expand ourselves beyond our comfortable horizons. Now, this week, I don't think I'm going to be doing much of that, but I want to give you the opportunity to start this off this time. Why don't you sell me for the first time? Because last week you did pretty good. The first week, you still haven't sold me.
Let's calm down on that first week. Okay, I'll get you eventually. But anyway, so I think did you say what position we were going with? I don't
think I completely forgot. I didn't because I was so excited to hear you sell me. All right. So this week is kickers. I think kickers got so much flack this season because they couldn't hit a single field goal, I felt like, when it mattered.
And this past week, yeah.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and find someone we can give credit to this week. Who do you got?
Okay. So here's the thing. This is going to be an interesting sell because this is actually one of the kickers that I chose who did struggle this past week. But in every other week before this week, he's been doing pretty phenomenally and has been helping out his team a bunch. I'm going with the rookie Evan McPherson from the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm hoping I didn't pick your choice, but here's the thing. So he's had 2 game-winning field goals so far. He's had a game-winning field goal in week 1 against the Vikings in overtime. It was probably a 33-yarder, I believe, and a 35-yard winning field goal at Thursday Night Football against the Jacksonville Jaguars. In 2021 so far, he is 5 for 8 on field goals, and his only 3 misses are from 40 yards or above. And he is so far 13 for 13 on extra points in 2021. It's kind of crazy that you got to bring up that stat, but there are some kickers that have missed extra points this season. So that is a stat to bring up. Yeah, it's a valid stat to bring up. And this is his rookie season, so we don't have any stats from prior years of him in the NFL, but he's been kicking some really good field goals for the Bengals, and he's hit a few 40-yarders and 50-yarders, keeping the Bengals alive in the game. And the Bengals currently are 3-2, would be 3-3 if he managed to kick some of those field goals against the Packers, but at the same time, the Packers kicker had, the first dibs at winning the game for them. So if he had hit those field goals first, then the Bengals would still currently be 3-2. And they were able to keep it close against the Packers, and they've been able to beat teams like the Steelers and the Vikings, which are, hot and cold, but they're there. So Evan McPherson, we don't know a lot from him so far, but he is a young upstart rookie that is doing really, really well on his feet and is probably the best rookie kicker this season so far.
If you told me this last week, I think I would have been like, I think you're onto something there. He's really high. But this week, man, watching him this week, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was that game. I'm gonna blame lasers. I think maybe people were shining lasers in the kicker's eyes.
But you could tell the kid was passionate about his job and his kicking position. He was very ecstatic when he thought he won the game for the Bengals against the Packers. But just the flag gods decided to nick the ball a couple inches to the left, and that's what did him in. So I'll let you. You may not be rooting for him now, but give him a few times, let him pass the bye week, and I think he will be one of the more consistent kickers in the AFC, if not the whole league.
I think he's got a bright future ahead of him if it wasn't for the Bungles. So I'll give you that. All right, here's mine. Brace yourself, as always. Get ready, because this time I am pouring bias at you. It's coming in waves. The bias waves. Okay. Because this player is the best active player on their team. Okay. Best player on the New York Giants.
Oh boy.
Our kicker, Graham Gano. He's been in the league for a while now. He's been around a few different teams. He's been with the Giants for the last 3 years now. Okay. And this guy is putting up phenomenal numbers. Maybe it's because the special teams is led by Joe Judge, who was a special teams coach for the New England Patriots. Maybe it's because the Giants are just putting themselves in a position where the only thing they have is their special teams, or maybe he's just naturally talented. A culmination of those 3 things, though, is leading to an excellent year for this guy. So I'm going to throw all the stats at you, as always. Okay, ready? Longest field goal for this year so far, 55 yards, pretty respectable. He's got 5 attempts beyond the 50-meter mark or 50-yard mark, okay, which is tied for the most in the NFL. Of those 5 attempts, he made 4, which is pretty damn good. He's second most in field goals made in the league right now. He's got 13 attempts, 11 connections, or 11, made field goals. He did 6 extra point attempts, okay, of which he made all 6. So he's 100% on extra points. Once you said, like you said, it's a key stat these years. He's got he's averaging 64.16 yards per kickoff, which is pretty damn good. And he's had 0 blocked field goals. When you look at those numbers, the guy is doing phenomenal. When you start saying tied for most in the league, tied for second most in the league, the guy is just doing his job. He's doing it very well. And let's talk about points. So the Giants have scored a total of 103 points over all these games. Not that great. Graham Gano has scored 39 of those points. So he alone has scored almost a third, if more than a third, of the New York Giants' total points this season. The guy is the team. Best player on the team, just telling you. Now, I know you're a Dallas fan, but if Dallas had Graham Gano on their team, they might be 5-0. Just saying. They might be 5-0.
I mean, that kind of hurts, but I don't know. I don't know if I would trust Graham Gano to kick that 56-yarder in Los Angeles to beat the Chargers at the end of the game. I don't know. He's a good kicker and he makes his kicks, but
yeah.
But
I mean, he's 4 out of 5 for beyond 50 and the most attempts in the league right now beyond 50. I mean, why not?
That's a Giants thing to keep have their kicker send him out there for as many times as they have.
That's the time for the third quarter, man. But it sounds like I didn't sell you. I mean, maybe you're just biased.
It's tough for a kicker, to be sold. Let's be real.
Yeah.
you did a good job. He is a solid kicker. I'll give you that. 39 points though is kind of crazy.
It's not bad. All right. Timer, sorry. Let's get to the creme de la creme. All right.
Oh boy.
The greatest topic that we could ever talk about, which is Giants football versus Cowboys football. I am coming at this from all of the worst angles for this week. So you and I, we watched this game together, right?
We did.
I felt like you were breathing down my neck this whole game because you were just, in the beginning, a little antsy. There was a time that game when it was 10-10. I remember that. And the Giants had an opportunity to be ahead, but we kind of blew that opportunity. Bobby Gano. But the game turns into a stomping ground, 44-20 by the end of the game, right? You just steamroll us, and the Giants just get wrecked. So before I get into the Giants' injuries, because I think that's a big topic here, or the Dallas defense or anything, how'd that game go for you? Here's your opportunity. You get a minute. Gloat all you want.
I mean, the game went pretty well. I was very happy that we were able to win. I did kind of feel bad that that we won despite all your best players pretty much getting injured during that game, because then it kind of brings up that whole excuse was, oh, what would have the score really been if the Giants did have Daniel Jones and Saquon and maybe all 3 of their starting receivers for the full game. Who knows? Maybe we would have won by less than 24. I don't know. But Glennon did okay for, you guys in the Giants. But I was happy with Dak's performance. He did pretty well. The first quarter, decisions, having the ball tipped and picked and then, fumbling the snap at the goal line that would have extended our lead. Those were questionable, but, I guess those were just division matchup jitters. I don't know. I can't explain it. Zeke had a great game as well, and the defense was solid. So the Cowboys, I'll give them an A for the week. They did what they were supposed to do against the Giants. I know that sorry for saying, but they did what they were supposed to do, and that was win.
Yeah, it's not a game that I expected the Giants to win. I'll be honest with you. Even without the injuries, it's not a game I expected the Giants to win. The Cowboys and Giants are just 2 different teams this year. as much as I hate to say it. I really do. It hurts every time I say those words. So let's talk a little bit about Big Blue. Okay. So Giants injuries on the offense. I'm not going to worry about the defense. Okay. Just on the offense. You have Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, which are 4 wide receivers, our top 4 wide receivers, all injured right now. Our quarterback, Daniel Jones, out with concussion. You saw him limping, trying to get to the sideline. I think he was even helped by a cowboy there for a little bit. That's just not what you want to see. All right, he might come back next week or the week after, but he's not going to be the same. His processing speed's going to be slow. Our running back, Saquon Barkley, I hear good things about that injury, but he's probably done for a bit on that ankle. Terrible injury once again. So now we lost.
Yeah. Go ahead. I was gonna say, like, the most unluckiest way to get injured. I felt bad. I was like, oh god, like there's no, I think, worse way to lose a running back than just like stepping wrong on someone else's boot. Like that's just I don't even, if that's not like the worst luck in the league, then I have no idea what is. Like I can't even, I have to admit.
Yeah. And so you got him, you lose your star running back, and then you go to the offensive line, right? You've lost Brederson, you've lost, who's a guard, Thomas, which is an offensive tackle, Gates, which was our center, Lemieux, which was another guard, Murphy, another guard, and you also lost 2 of our tight ends. You have no offensive line. You have no offense anymore.
Yeah.
As a Giants fan, you really need to brace yourselves because this year is not going to go our way. Not with all these injuries. Now, what it does do is it allows the Giants to give Joe Judge a nice little get out of jail free card for this year. The Giants aren't doing well. Well, he's going to say, look at all these injuries. I think he's going to stick around for next year, even if is on a hot seat. But I think the Giants are going to finish last place unless these players get healthy. And some of these injuries do not lend themselves to a quick healthy streak,
Right.
But the Dallas Cowboys defense allowed 20 points against them with our second and even third stringers. But yet a bright spot. Diggs, right? The guy's a miracle worker. What is that, 5 consecutive games now for him?
The pick, yeah, he got another interception. Somehow he did it.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, right? I wish it wasn't against us, but hey, he did it. And so the record right now for the NFL, do you know the record?
For most picks in a row, consecutive games?
Yep.
No idea.
It's from the Oakland Raiders, believe it or not, from the 60s, 62 to 63. It was by Tom, I think Morrow was his name. 8. All right, I want to relieve some of the pain, so I want to talk about something else for a second, distract you from the game. Do you think Diggs can break that record?
It's going to be really, really tough. I'd like to see him get close, but I don't think he'll get it. I think he'll be just short. There's a chance he'll pick off Mac Jones in week 6, but then after that we have a bye, and I think that's when the streak will end. It will end after the bye week, and I forget who we play coming out of the bye. I think it's either like the Vikings or the Broncos, but yeah, I think it's really hard to be that consistent, I believe, especially because there's so many other players on the defense that can make picks. As Anthony Brown had a pick against the Giants towards the end of the game as well. So there's other players that are, making good plays for the Cowboys defense. It just happens to be Diggs that's getting all these picks. I would love him to get, to match or even break the record, but that's going to be a really tall order. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I think he's the shining point of your defense. I think your defense needs help. It's not the strong aspect of your team. But 30-second hot take here. Dak Prescott comes back 1 year later into the Giants after an ankle injury and just smokes us. He just does an amazing job outside of those drop balls, etc. But he plays a good game, okay? How do you think that felt for him? Do you think this was a moment of relief, or do you think he's going to carry that burden moving forward?
No, I think this was a good moment for Dak Prescott. This was like that sort of game to
that's time, but finish that thought.
Okay, yeah, this was the sort of game for him where he just needs to, to bounce back, just get all the dark memories of, getting injured to the Giants in that stadium in that week of last year and just get a monster performance. And he did what he had to do. So it's looking good for Dak for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Cowboys are setting themselves up for a streak of wins right now. I think you guys have the potential to run. I know a lot of people are saying you're running on luck. I don't think so. I think this is running on solid talent right now and a good game plan. And that hurts to say. The Giants, if we could use some of that luck, though, if you wouldn't mind sending it over our way, maybe Andrew luck. I'll take whatever I can get.
I'd much rather, honestly, I'd much rather send it to you guys than the Eagles. So if we had to give the luck to somebody, I'd give it to you guys.
All right, so that's going to wrap up our fourth quarter for today. It hurts me to say that the Cowboys crushed the Giants, but you did. So let's go into overtime. So overtime, once again, boom, look down below. There's last week's picks, playoff predictions. I'm going to say that I actually have a change this week.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to mix things up, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start it off with you. Do you have any changes? Let's go NFC first. Let's go on the NFC side. You got any changes for your NFC teams?
The NFC this week, I do not have a change because if you remember the previous week, I took out the Panthers and replaced them for the Seahawks. But this week, I'm keeping that the same. The Panthers don't look great right now. Again, that's because McCaffrey is hurt, so that just goes to show how much of an X factor he is on that team and how much the team relies on him. The Seahawks, they're a bit damaged now because Russell Wilson is going to be out for a few weeks, so we'll see how they play in the coming weeks. We'll wait to see how Geno Smith
now, right?
Yeah, he's going to play a full game, so I'm going to leave the Seahawks in that 7th seed wild card spot, even though I know they're unranked, but in that wild card spot for the Seahawks. I need to see how Geno Smith plays against some of these opponents. And it's tough because there's not really other NFC teams, that could probably be worth taking over the Seahawks at the moment. I mean, you could argue the Saints, but they're inconsistent. You could argue the Vikings, but they're also inconsistent. So I'm going to leave it as is. Entire NFC West in the postseason, Bucks, Cowboys, and Packers still leading the divisions.
So I have a particular disdain for Geno Smith. As a Giants fan, because he's the guy who broke Eli Manning's starting streak.
I remember that.
So I hate him with a passion, but I did think he played pretty well for the Seahawks, so I could see where you're going with there. I still think they're taking some regression there. So I don't change mine. I still got the Cards, Saints, and Panthers in the wild card for the NFC East, and I'm leaving the rest as it is. I don't think the Seahawks are going to make it. I think the Panthers have a better shot with Russell Wilson down, but we shall see.
The 49ers also have a good shot.
Who?
I said the 49ers.
My mic or my headphones must have been.
Oh, you didn't hear? Okay, that's fine.
I think I heard that the 49ers were being dropped from yours. Were you ready to talk on that?
Let's just move to the AFC then.
All right. AFC. I'll go ahead and start this one off. So I'm keeping the Browns as the AFC North, okay? I know the Ravens are technically ahead of them right now, but I think if the two teams faced each other, I think the Browns would win, despite all of Lamar Jackson's efforts. Bills, I think, are the best team in the AFC. So without a doubt, they're
if not
right
the
there.
Whole league.
Yeah. I'm going to skip over the West. I'm going to leave the Titans where they're at. I don't think there's anyone in the South that's a good team right now. And then wild card, there's a few change-ups. So let's talk about the AFC West. You can't avoid it. You look at the news right now, and the guy's face is everywhere. John Gruden. I don't want to even bother talking about what he did or why he's no longer the head coach. But I think the fact that he is not the head coach of the Raiders and John Gruden has resigned is going to put the Raiders out, just straight out of my playoff predictions. They're going to fall not only from the AFC West champions, but they're also not even going to make the wild card now. You can't take away a football genius like that. Let's be honest, Gruden was an offensive football genius. And replace him with an interim coach. halfway through the season, not even halfway through the season, expect the team to rebound and not expect the locker room to have a lot of friction, especially when it's such a high profile removal. So I say Raiders out, and I'm going to be symbiotic with you, and I'm going to put the Chargers right in that spot, AFC West. And then over here in the wild card, I had my Chargers there. So now that they've moved up, I'm going to replace them with the Bengals, which I think, while Joe Burrow, he had a throat contusion or something going on there, which was a little worrying. But if he is healthy, I think Joe Burrow is naturally talented. And I think the Bengals are finally going to make the playoffs in a pretty statement win way, especially with the Raiders faltering. So that's my choices here. Raiders out, Chargers in, and then Bengals slipping into the wild card. No changes the rest. What do you got, man?
So I'm going to be very boring this week. I currently do not have any changes. I still have the Chiefs chilling up top. I know they're playing horribly, but every team I feel like just has like that one, really, really bad game. The Chargers had that loss to the Cowboys where they just were penalized over and over and over again. So that's their one loss. The Chiefs got blown out by the Bills. It seemed like. So I'm going to keep them at the top because, you can never really count out Pat Mahomes. However, if the Chiefs lose to Washington football team on Sunday, then they'll probably be put down to the wild card, and I might change them with the Chargers. Card, huh? Yeah. The Chiefs are chilling because the AFC, there's not really many good teams in the AFC at the moment. The Chiefs are going to chill up top. The Chargers and the Ravens are sitting pretty in the wild card. And I'm still just going to have the Raiders sit in there. I know the Bengals are looking really, really good right now, but they're really the only other team in the entire AFC that's looking pretty, pretty good. And I think the Raiders, their loss to the Bears on Sunday, I think that entire organization just kind of like knew what was going on that day. Like that, it was looming over their shoulders. So because they discovered those like emails or whatever back on Friday. So I think the team just, didn't really have it. They weren't focused on Sunday at all. So I think with Gruden and all that, I guess, negative energy out of the building, I think maybe they'll have a week to, refresh and regroup, and we'll have to see how this new Raiders squad plays on Sunday. So at the moment, I'm keeping them at that 7th spot.
All right, man. Well, that's where I got the Chiefs right now. That 7th spot is kind of just like who else are you going to put there spot for the AFC? Like you said, the AFC just doesn't have a lot of strong teams. I could say there's like 4 teams maybe. I'd say the Browns, Bills, Chargers, and Ravens, I'd say, are the 4.
And maybe Titans, like
maybe
if that.
They
lost to the Jets though, so I don't even know.
yeah, like if that. And yet on the NFC side, you got a lot of strong teams there, but no clear number 1 team. So that's what makes this Bills team look so aggressive and dangerous and Super Bowl contenders, is because the competition around them is a lot weaker than in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
But there you are, everyone. That's going to go ahead. That buzzer's going to go off any second now, but that's going to end this episode of Wednesday Night Football. I hope you all enjoyed the time format that we did this week. A little different to help make our points more concise, to make our efforts a little more exact. And I feel like it's a little more like soccer time than NFL time, where we almost get like this additional time at the end of a half just to add on flavor text. I think it's been a pretty good show. So, Gabe, you won this week, but come December 19th, the Giants there's going to be some type of bionic surgery going on over there. They're going to come back. And when I'm at that game, I'm just going to bestow the energy, and they're going to win. I'm telling you, man, I have faith. All
right. We'll see you again in December then.
But you get it this week. So that's going to go ahead and wrap up Wednesday Night Football. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I will see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.